Welcome to Detailed Book Summaries. Today's video is titled You Are a Badass Summary, How to Stop Doubting and Start Living an Awesome Life. If you ever felt stuck, filled with self-doubt, or unsure how to step into the life you truly deserve, this is for you. In Jen Sincero's best-selling book, You Are a Badass, she shares the exact mindset shifts and strategies to help you break free from limitations and start living with purpose and power. You deserve an awesome life. Here's how. Let's dive into the life-changing lessons that could unlock your inner badass today. Chapter 1. My subconscious made me do it. Most people tiptoe through life, hoping to safely arrive at death. That's how Jen Sincero opens a door to the truth many of us live by without even realizing it. In the very first chapter, she slams down a challenge. What the only thing holding us back isn't the world or circumstances or bad luck, but ourselves? She dives into the quirky yet powerful idea that our subconscious mind is like a little hard drive we didn't install ourselves. From birth, we've been programmed by parents, teachers, culture, religion, the media, layer after layer of belief systems, many of which don't serve us. And the kicker? Most of them are running the show without our permission. Jen doesn't just call you out. She invites you into the mess, into the truth, into the raw realization that your thoughts, your unconscious beliefs, are making decisions for you every day. Whether it's a reason you're broke, single, unhappy at your job, or feel stuck in a loop of mediocrity, your subconscious beliefs are likely holding the reins. But here's the catch. We're not stuck with that programming. Sincero wants us to get uncomfortably aware of our internal narrative. She compares it to a record playing in the background of our lives, one we didn't choose, but keep dancing to. It tells us what we deserve, what's possible, what's too hard, and who we are, often in a voice we picked up from someone else entirely. The power in Chapter 1 isn't in deep science or complex philosophy. It's in the simplicity of awareness. She lays out the uncomfortable truth. Until we rewire our inner dialogue, until we become conscious of the unconscious, we'll keep sabotaging ourselves. She invites you to stop blaming your parents, your ex, your boss, or the economy. She invites you to look inward, not to punish yourself, but to reclaim your power. Jen believes we're born with greatness, but somewhere along the way, we get convinced we're small. And when you're convinced you're small, you live small. You dream small. You settle. But not anymore. This isn't about affirmations on sticky notes or chanting mantras in front of a mirror. It's about doing the messy internal excavation to ask, whose voice is that in my head? Is it even mine? And more importantly, what would happen if I stopped listening? Chapter 1 ends not with answers, but with a mirror. Jen is saying, look, really look, because the version of you that believes she's stuck, that version is a lie. And you, badass, were born for more. Chapter 2, the G word, God. Yeah, Jen goes there and fast, but not in the way that makes you want to shut off the video. This chapter is about redefining what God means in a way that doesn't make you cringe, roll your eyes, or feel like you're being preached to. Jen's point? We all believe in something. Whether you call it God, the universe, source energy, spirit, higher power, or even your gut, it doesn't really matter. What matters is that you believe there's something bigger than you, something working with you, for you, through you, something that connects everything. She's not interested in debating religion. This chapter isn't about church pews or prayer mats. It's about energy. It's about recognizing that we're all part of a massive energetic field that responds to the vibes we put out. That might sound a little woo-woo to some, but Jen's tone makes it accessible, funny, and relatable. She paints the universe as a giant universal mail-order service. You ask for what you want, believe it's coming, and take action like you know it's on its way. But if you're vibrating on the frequency of fear, doubt, or unworthiness, your order gets scrambled or lost. This is where it gets juicy. She ties your personal power directly to your belief in the energy of the universe. If you think it's all random, you'll live randomly. If you think life is for you, not against you, you'll move like someone who expects great things to happen. And that's where the shift begins. Jen shares a blunt truth here. Most of us believe in lack, in not enough, in struggle. And then we go out and unconsciously create that, over and over. So the question becomes, What would shift if you actually believed that the universe wants you to win, that it wants to partner with you, co-create with you, build something extraordinary through you? She challenges us to stop seeing ourselves as alone in this. Because when you act like you're alone, you act small. But when you know deep in your bones that you're supported by something massive and mysterious and wildly generous, you get bolder, you ask for more, you let go of control, and then you start receiving. Chapter 2 is Jen's reminder that believing in something bigger doesn't make you weak or weird. It makes you powerful. It roots your hustle and faith. It gives your ambition a foundation that isn't just willpower or grind, but trust. Trust that the invisible forces of the universe are conspiring in your favor. When you let them, she ends the chapter by encouraging you to tune in, to get quiet enough to hear that inner voice that whispers, "You're meant for more." Because that's the real G-word energy. Not fear, not guilt, not shame, just love, abundance, and possibility. Chapter 3, Present as a Pigeon. Let's talk about the now. Not the 5 years from now. Not the once I get promoted fantasy. And definitely not the mistakes from your past that keep hijacking your mind like an uninvited pop-up ad. Jen Sincero comes out swinging in Chapter 3 with one clear message. Your power exists in the present moment, period. Most people live either stuck in regret or lost in anxiety. It's like we've been conditioned to treat the present moment like some annoying middle child. You know, it's not as glamorous as the future and not as dramatic as the past. But Jen insists this right now is where the magic happens. She uses the example of animals, especially pigeons. Pigeons aren't brooding over what happened yesterday. They're not worrying if their next breadcrumb will appear. They're just doing pigeon stuff. Fully there, fully present. And that's what we're supposed to be doing too. But instead, we're up in our heads, overanalyzing text messages and replaying awkward conversations from high school. Jen breaks it down like this. When you're not present, you miss opportunities. You miss the signs. You miss the creative sparks. You miss the life that's happening around you, for you. Because presence isn't just about mindfulness. It's about alignment, being where your feet are, fully tuned in, receptive. And here's the real kicker. When you're present, fear has way less power. Fear feeds off future projections and past wounds. But in this very moment, you're breathing. You're alive. You're fine. In fact, you're more than fine. You're capable, calm, connected. Jen uses humor and straight talk to get the point across. She doesn't sugarcoat it. Presence takes effort. You have to train your mind not to wander. You have to catch yourself spiraling and pull yourself back. But the payoff? Huge. That's when the breakthroughs come. That's when you hear your intuition. That's when things start to line up in weirdly perfect ways. She also warns us not to confuse busyness with presence. You can be doing a million things and still be totally absent. Real presence means being engaged mentally, emotionally, and spiritually with whatever's in front of you, whether it's folding laundry or pitching your next big idea. And when you start practicing this regularly, you'll notice something wild. Peace, like actual inner calm. Not because your life is perfect, but because you're anchored. You're not chasing or escaping. You're here. Chapter 3 invites us to stop treating life like a waiting room. This isn't a warm-up act. This is it. So breathe. Drop in. Be present as a pigeon. That's where your power is hiding. Chapter 4, The Big Snooze. There's a version of you that's terrified of change. It clings to comfort like a baby to its blanket, even if that comfort is mediocrity. Jen Sincero calls this version of you the big snooze, your subconscious programming, your inner saboteur, your memo that convinces you to stay small, quiet, and stuck. Here's the deal. The big snooze isn't evil. It's just doing its job. It's trying to protect you from discomfort and the unknown. But in doing so, it wraps you in a cozy blanket of excuses. You stay in the crappy job because it's stable. You avoid taking that risk because it might not work out. You don't raise your hand, apply, speak up, or stand out because the big snooze keeps whispering. Play it safe. And it's sneaky. It uses logic to make its case. Now isn't the right time. You're too old. You don't have enough experience. People like you don't do stuff like that. It feeds you just enough fear and doubt to make you freeze. But here's what Jen makes loud and clear. If you want to live a badass life, you have to wake the hell up. The big snooze may feel safe, but it's a trap. And the longer you sleepwalk through life, the more you lose your spark, your joy, your shot. The process of waking up, not always pretty. When you decide to stretch, evolve, or finally chase what you want, the big snooze doesn't go quietly. It freaks out. It throws tantrums. It'll pull every trick to get you to turn back. And that resistance, that's your cue that you're on the edge of something big. Jen reminds us that growth always looks crazy at first. It feels uncomfortable because it's unfamiliar, not because it's wrong. Your ego will scream. Your fear will flare. But if you push through, if you hold steady, something incredible happens. The big snooze starts to shrink. You start to wake up. And that's when you remember who you are, that bold, brilliant, limitless part of you that's been buried under shoulds, and story starts rising. And it doesn't just change your career or your bank account. It changes how you walk through the world. You go from shrinking to shining, from avoiding to attracting, from passive to powerful. So this chapter, it's your alarm clock. Stop snoozing. Start rising. Because your greatness isn't out there. It's been with you all along. You just have to wake up and go get it. Chapter 5, Self-Perception is a Zoo. You're not who you think you are. At least, not entirely. Most of what you believe about yourself, your strengths, your flaws, your limits, has been fed to you by other people. Family, teachers, friends, society. And like a sponge, you've soaked it all in over the years until it became your truth. But here's the wild part. It's not truth. It's programming. Jen Sincero wants you to see how much of your identity is based on old stories. Maybe someone once told you were bad with money, so you built your life around that narrative. Maybe you were teased as a kid for being too much, so now you dim your light to make others comfortable. Maybe you failed once and decided you're not a leader, not athletic, not lovable. These aren't facts. They're labels, and you've been wearing them like a freaking name tag. Your self-perception is like a zoo. You walk around in a cage made of your own thoughts, obeying invisible limits that don't actually exist. I could never do that. I'm not the type of person who, and guess what? As long as you believe it, it'll stay true for you. Not because it is true, but because you won't try anything different. So what do? You start noticing the lies. You question the voice in your head that says, that's not for people like me. You stop treating your personality like it's fixed and unchangeable. You realize that confidence, skill, and power aren't traits people are born with. They're things people build. Jen pushes you to get uncomfortable, to do the things that scare you, to stretch. Because growth doesn't happen inside your mental zoo. It happens when you break the bars, shake up your identity, and decide who you want to be instead of who you've always been. And here's the kicker. The only reason you think you can't be that person is because you haven't practiced being that person. That's it. There's no destiny. No permanent personality test. Just a decision and a little courage to back it up. You are not your past. You are not your mistakes. You are not your fears or your flaws. You're the person who gets to write the next chapter. So stop parroting the old story. Change the narrative. Rewrite the script. Because the moment you realize you're the one holding the keys to your cage, that's the moment you walk free. Chapter 6, Love the One You Is. Here's the deal. If you want to start living an awesome life, you need to start with the most foundational badass move of all, loving yourself. Like, actually loving yourself. Not just a filtered, carefully curated version of you that you post on Instagram. Jen Sincero doesn't sugarcoat it. She says, you are a badass. Act like it. But how can you act like it if deep down you're still trash-talking yourself on loop? Most people are walking around treating themselves like crap. They criticize, they judge, they compare. They point out every flaw, magnify every mistake, and shrink back from every compliment. And then they wonder why life feels like an uphill battle. The truth? You can't become your most powerful self while constantly beating yourself up. You can't create abundance, joy, or success from a foundation built on self-loathing. Self-love isn't about being perfect. It's about being real with yourself, owning who you are, and treating that person with massive respect. Jen calls out the self-help culture that makes self-love feel like this fluffy, woo-woo, kumbaya concept. Nah, she's talking about radical, unapologetic, get in the mirror and hype yourself up kind of love. The kind that shows up when you screw up and say, yeah, I messed that up, but I'm still awesome. The kind that pushes you to demand more, not because you're broken, but because you're worth it. And here's the magic. When you actually love yourself, everything else gets easier. You make bolder decisions. You stop settling for crumbs. You attract better relationships. You let go of the crap that doesn't serve you. Why? Because you know your value. And when you know your value, you stop asking permission to live big. Jen reminds us, your relationship with yourself sets the tone for every other relationship in your life. So if you're constantly putting yourself last, apologizing for existing, or treating yourself like a second-class citizen, expect the world to mirror that energy right back. Start small. Speak kindly to yourself. Make choices that honor your worth. Give yourself permission to shine, mess up, learn, and grow. Stop waiting for someone else to validate you. That's your job. No one else can do it. Because when you finally get how powerful, worthy, and lovable you already are, that's when the whole damn game changes. Chapter 7. I know you are, but what am I? This chapter is all about beliefs. Those sneaky little thoughts you've been carrying since childhood that shape how you show up in the world, often without you even realizing it. Jen Sincero comes in hot with a wake-up call. Your reality is created by what you believe is true about yourself, your life, and the world. If you believe money is hard to come by, guess what? You'll struggle. If you think you're bad at relationships, you'll sabotage everyone. If deep down you think you're not good enough, you'll subconsciously find ways to prove it, over and over again. These beliefs don't come from nowhere. They've been downloaded into your brain from your parents, teachers, culture, religion, TV shows, trauma, and that one dumb thing someone said to you in middle school. And over time, you accepted those ideas as truth. But here's the kicker. They're not facts. They're just beliefs. And beliefs can be changed. Jen breaks it down with zero fluff. She says if your life is full of things you don't like, crappy jobs, dead-end relationships, lack of confidence, it's probably because your subconscious beliefs are dragging you down like ankle weights in a marathon. You could do all the affirmations and vision boards in the world, but if deep inside you think you suck, you're not going to get far. So what do? You dig in. You question your beliefs. You catch those automatic thoughts like, I'll never be successful, or I'm just not lucky, and you ask, says who? Is that really true? Where did that come from? You become a detective of your own inner dialogue, and then you rewrite the damn script. Jen's advice? Don't just change your story. Burn the old one to the ground and write a new one with fire. This chapter isn't about blame. It's about responsibility. You didn't choose most of the beliefs you've been living by. But now, you get to decide whether to keep them. That's power. That's freedom. Once you realize that your thoughts shape your reality, you stop being a victim of circumstance and start becoming the architect of your life. And that's when things start to shift. Fast. Chapter 8. Just because it's your brain doesn't mean you have to believe it. If there's one thing Jen Sincero wants to drill into your head in this chapter, it's this. Your brain is not always your best friend. In fact, a lot of time, it's kind of jerk. Your brain's job is survival. It likes comfort zones. It likes predictability. It likes safety. That's why it flips out anytime you try something new, like launching a business, asking someone out, or quitting that soul-sucking job. The moment you think about doing something unfamiliar or bold, your brain screams, danger! Back away slowly. And the voice that delivers this panic? That's your ego. The ego isn't some big villain. It's just that part of your mind that wants to protect you from failure, rejection, embarrassment, or anything remotely risky. It's like a helicopter parent on steroids. It talks in fear. It doubts. It constantly reminds you of what went wrong last time. And if you let it drive the car, you'll stay parked forever. Jen gets blunt. Stop letting your ego run your life. You have to start separating the real you, the you that wants to grow, thrive, and crush it, from the scared little voice in your head that says you're not smart enough, rich enough, attractive enough, or talented enough. That voice is a liar. A very convincing liar, sure, but a liar nonetheless. So how do you fight back? First, notice the voice. Catch it when it starts whispering doubts and throwing shade. Then call it out. Thank it for trying to protect you, but let it know you've got this. Jen recommends actually talking back to it like it's a toddler having a tantrum. I see you. I hear you. But I'm not letting you make decisions today. Second, decide to believe something better, even if it feels fake at first. If your brain says, you're going to fail, you say, actually, I'm capable and I'm figuring this out. It's not about blind optimism. It's about choosing thoughts that empower you instead of trap you. And finally, take action. Do the thing. Step forward, even if you're scared. Your ego will freak out, but once it sees you're not dying, it'll chill out a little. And over time, the more you act in spite of fear, the quieter that scared voice gets. This chapter is a wake-up call to stop treating every thought you have like it's the truth, because it's not. Your brain generates thousands of thoughts a day. Most of them recycled junk. You don't have to believe them. You can choose better ones, stronger ones that serve the badass you're becoming. Chapter 9. Lead with your heart, not your big dumb head. Jen Sincero doesn't hold back in this chapter. She wants you to understand that your head, while great for balancing your checkbook or remembering your Netflix password, can really mess things up when it comes to creating a life you love. Why? Because your head is logical. It plays it safe. It calculates risk, and it often talks you out of the very things your heart is screaming for. The message here is powerful. Your heart knows. Your heart knows when you're meant for more. It knows when you're settling. It knows what lights you up. But instead of listening to it, we bury it under spreadsheets, to-do lists, what-ifs, and other people's expectations. We let the practical voice in our head drown out our intuition. Sincero tells you, stop doing that. Start trusting that inner compass. Start paying attention to what actually makes you feel alive, even if it makes 0 sense on paper. You're not here to grind through life doing what's expected. You're here to feel joy, to be lit up, to create a life that thrills you. And that kind of life comes from the heart, not from a carefully calculated cost-benefit analysis. Of course, this doesn't mean you toss your brain out the window. It just means you let your heart take the lead, and your head can follow with the details. The magic happens when you marry your gut instinct with intentional action. There's another key point Jen hits here. Don't wait for guarantees. Your heart's path is rarely clear, and it's never risk-free. You won't always know exactly how it's all going to work, but you don't need all the answers. You just need to decide that you're going to believe in yourself more than your doubts. You take the leap, and the net appears, not the other way around. The irony is, once you start following your heart and do what feels right, really right, you'll notice something wild. Things start to click. Opportunities show up. People appear. It's like the universe nods in your direction and says, finally. So here's the deal. Your head will always try to make sense of things. That's fine. Let it do its thing. But when it comes to making the big moves in your life, the love, the career, the dream, you got to tune into your heart. It knows where the magic is. And if your head doesn't like it, too bad. It can catch up later. And that wraps up our summary of You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero. A powerful guide to stop doubting your greatness and start living an awesome life. Remember, you deserve an awesome life, and it starts with your mindset, your belief, and your action. If this video helped shift your perspective, don't forget to like, subscribe, and tap the notification bell so you never miss a new video from Detailed Book Summaries, your go-to place for powerful, life-changing book breakdowns.